Hello again, everyone. Welcome back. In this technical analysis of the stock market video, I call it excessively content because that seems to be exactly where the market is, and we'll talk about that in a minute. We're going to focus on the S&P 500 today, the SPX, and its ETF, the SPY. A couple of key indicators, and then I'm going to check in on Tesla. All right, let's start off here with the side-by-side view, the industrials, the S&P, and the NASDAQ 100. The Dow was up 837 points for the week. So 3 weeks in a row, 2 weeks in a row, back above the 10-week moving average. Now, we've kind of snuck our little head above that 10-week before after breaking out below it, stick it above, and then you kind of take another leg. It's going to be interesting to see, does that happen? The other thing that I notice every once in a while, and you'll see it on the SPX and the NDX too, is when DI plus at an elevated level breaks below the ADX line, which is the thin little black line in here. Sometimes, and it works in reverse too, if the selling is up high like this, that the buying is starting to run out of steam. Okay, so we'll see if that continues or not. But right now, we've had a pretty strong little 3-week stretch. The S&P 500 up 95 points, 3 weeks in a row. Similar kind of thing going on in here. And then we take a look at the NDX. It was up 267 points, 2 weeks above the 10-week moving average. And also a similar kind of thing happening. You notice how it happened back over here in June of last year, prior to the peak in July, and then we got a several-month pullback. So we'll see what happens in here right now. So far, the price action has refused to break down. Let's take a look at the S&P 500. So we just got done looking at the weekly, up 95 points. Here's the daily, up 860 on Friday. The interesting little doji type candle for Friday's price action. Similar to what happened on Tuesday, but we never got a breakdown in here. So I'm kind of a little bit suspicious. Could this develop into an evening star? We'll see. Do we get a down day? Does this gap down on Monday and sell off? We'll find out. I mean, who knows? Right now, we're getting some mixed signals. We're pretty close to taking out the highs that were achieved in March. So I think that's pretty key to what's going on. And let's take a look at the SPY. So we're a similar type picture. I've got the dashed line up here. The high on the SPY, 524.61. 524.61 is the March 28th intraday high on the SPY. So that's the uncle point for this scenario, for the fact that, I'm counting this as 1 down, 2 back up, deep retracement. Yes, I know. And then you'd have a third wave come down strong. So we'll see whether or not we get that follow through. And of course, this is wrong if it takes out that high. From that standpoint, you look at it and say, well, the risk-reward, potential reward is tremendous. If we do start a third wave down, the risk is a stop, literally 1 penny above this high. Yeah, we'll see. Okay, so this is where we sit. This is the picture that we're looking at. I've been talking about this for a long time. And if we take out the highs, then I'll be moving to an alternate scenario that I'm not going to spend time on now because it hasn't happened. Let's take a look at a couple of key indicators. Now I'm going to go back to the moving average view. I put the high yield bond fund in an indicator type of category because it really does tell you risk on, risk off. On Friday, it was 12 cents down, and for the week, down 18 cents. So the interesting thing here on the daily view that you see is we haven't broken back down below the 10-day moving average in here. We've kind of flipped to the upside. The 10 crossed above the 21. We're not closing below that 10-day just yet. Okay, so we're watching it. But the other thing that's got my attention is this does look like 5 waves down. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a zigzag back up. So, you get a 5, 3. Those are the first two legs of a bigger zigzag, right? At a minimum. But it's also the first two legs of a bigger impulse wave to the downside. So right now, I'm thinking that the high yield bond fund is giving us a clue and a signal. We'll see if it pans out. And to start and see that it pans out is we're going to start seeing this thing close below the 10-day moving average, and that we come down and we break this trend line. We're going to get this kind of price action. So I think this is giving us a little clue that we've got 5-3. Okay, not quite so clear when you look at the daily on the SPY. When I drill down and go underneath the covers and go into the intraday, you can see a 5-wave move down in here, but on the daily it's not quite as clear. So we'll see whether or not the high yield bond fund is clearly forecasting what's happening here on the SPY. Now let's take a look at the VIX. So the VIX down 14 cents on Friday. Look where it closed, 12.55. This has been a huge drop from the intraday high of 21.36 to down here closing at 12.55, and they did it in basically, if you count this first day here, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 days. Okay, the other interesting thing is look where this is sitting on a weekly view. There are only 1, 2, 3, 4 other weeks, little cluster, 4 out of 6 weeks back down here in the fall that closed below that level or in that neighborhood of 12.55. Okay, these are the only ones all the way. You got to go all the way back to January, the end of 2019, and into January of 2020 to get a similar type close. So here's one that was lower. Well, here's one where it closed. Okay, so it closed literally 12.56 on January 5th, the week of January 5th, 2020. Here's the week of January 12th. And when I say the week of, I'm talking about starting the Sunday, January 12th, 2020. Okay, and then you can see the eruption that happened as we got into the start of the whole COVID crash type thing. Now, I'm not saying that because where we closed that we're about to have a crash. What I'm saying is we're down in that category where there is excessive content. There is no fear going on right now. And we've got to watch and see, does the price action start to roll over and confirm some kind of breakdown? We're not seeing it yet, but that's what we're on alert for. Okay. All right. I want to move off of this. Let's take a look at Tesla. Okay. Tesla on Friday was down $3.50. And for the week, it was down $12.72. So it looks like it's resuming its downtrend that it's been in. Right now, when I look at the daily, this looks like a big magnet to me. This big gap down here. The gap would close completely at about 147.27. Let's just call it 147.27. You get a gap close. So even if you just said 147 to 158-ish kind of thing, it's a pretty good sized gap. And we closed the week, we closed at 168.47. So that's where I'm sitting. This has really got my attention here on Tesla. And when I look at the Elliott Wave picture, here's what I'm looking at. Okay, I think that we had a big cycle wave peak that happened in October of 21, and that we had a first big three-wave sell-off move that bottomed back here in December of 22. So it continued to go down. The market basically bottomed in like October, early November, And this didn't bottom until, what is that, the week of January 1st, 23. Okay. And so I'm looking at this and thinking we've got a WXY, very complex, big cycle wave, fourth cycle wave underway. And if I had to target where this Y, again, this looks like I've got a combination WXY that's going on. I'm targeting down here where the low was. We'll see how the waves unfold. Now, what am I seeing in this last leg down? So here's what I'm looking at. Okay, let me zoom this out. Okay, so in terms of the move down, this looks like a first A wave. It looks like some kind of extended leading diagonal pattern. It's not perfect, but it's close. And then I've got this labeled as a B wave counter trend. The alternate is that it's just A, B, and C, like one more push up to complete a B wave zigzag, then the C wave down to complete the Y. So we'll watch and see, do we come on down and continue to sell off like I'm expecting short term, or does it get a little messier? So, but right now, this is the bigger picture I've got. I think we got a lot more selling going on and on Tesla before we get another major move up to complete a big 5-wave cycle. So that's the picture we've got on Tesla. We'll see what happens here over the next couple of weeks. All right, that's it for this weekend. If you felt like the video was helpful, give it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber to the channel, hit that little subscriber button. And if you'd like more of this information on a regular basis, head on over to joehenches.net. Check out the website and the membership. Everyone have a great week. We'll talk to you on the next video.